Yeah, that is the question. Is the new Nissan Ariya better than the old Nissan Leaf? The Nissan Leaf second version had two things that a lot of people didn't like. Number one was something that Nissan couldn't do anything about. They didn't know that Europe was totally switching from CHAdeMO to CCS. Every electric car that came out, even Tesla Model 3, everything had a CCS plug, and CHAdeMO was just phased out. And not just that you can't find a plug, the problem is there are no high power chargers. In the beginning, when the Nissan Leaf 60 kilowatt hour came out and it could charge with around 100 kilowatt, there were a few CHAdeMO chargers that could do that 100 kilowatt. They were limited, I think, by amps. I can't remember what the number was. So it was really phased out in Europe, and now we have CCS plugs, hyperchargers everywhere, and CHAdeMO only on triple chargers and with 50 kilowatt. So to compete with the others that have higher charging power and can do long ranges and charge everywhere, they had to change. The second problem was passive battery cooling of the Leaf. It didn't have active cooling, so no fan and no liquid running through the battery to cool it down. So it relied on the outside temperature and the wind while driving to cool it. And so the problem was, if you do a long distance trip and you charge a few times, the battery got so hot that the charging power was reduced significantly and it took a long time to charge. So this problem, even though it is annoying and yes, it's real, I think it was hyped way too much, because it happens when it's warm outside and when you really charge 2 times, 3 times on a long distance trip. So I don't know, driving 600 kilometers or so, or even more. But if people are going in the summer on holidays and doing a long distance trip, this is where it happened. But the rest of the year, when it was colder and when you didn't drive 600, 700 kilometers, you never noticed it. So for the normal driver, I think that didn't go to summer vacation and on the summer vacation was annoyed that charging takes so long, I don't think it was such a big problem. But the question is, did they fix this with the Ariya? The fast answer is yes. We have a CCS plug still in the front on the right side front here, which at Ionity, for example, is annoying, but on other chargers it's fine. I know Ionity doesn't have very long cables, but hyperchargers usually have a long cable, and then it also doesn't have to go here over the hood here. And front is nice to go into the charger and then have to back out onto a wide street. I always liked front charging systems. And the other thing is cooling. Yes, we now have battery cooling. We also have battery heating, and even you can do it manually. So you can switch a button and the battery will be heated up, and then you can have full power when you're charging. But the other question is, did the Ariya now catch up to the competitors? Does this car have features that the other cars also have, or even more features that the other cars would like to have? Does it drive as well as the Leaf did, as other cars? Is it a good competitor? Is it a good car? The answer to this question is a bit harder because there are so many areas. Let's talk about specs and what you can have in the Ariya. You can have a 63 kilowatt hour battery, that's net capacity, or like this car has, 87 kilowatt hour battery. Gross capacity I think is 91. So it's a bigger battery. We go from 40-60 from the Leaf to 60, almost 90 kilowatt hours. That's cool. We also now have rear wheel drive, not like the Leaf had front wheel drive, and we can have all-wheel drive, which is cool. Normal version like this with 306 horsepower and even more power version. AC charging is at 22 kilowatt, which is cool. DC charging, peak at 130 kilowatt, and I made a video about the charging curve because it's a very, very simple charging curve because everything is limited by the BMS. You can see it, watch this video. And 130 kilowatt at a 90 kilowatt hour battery is not that impressive. The interior has been updated a lot. It looks very nice with this Alcantara-like stuff, maybe it is. It's very soft and looks really amazing. And here in the front you have wood. I don't know if this is real. I'm not good with this, but it looks great. The same with the buttons. The layout looks really good. Functionality is something different. But overall, in the door we have all our controls for all windows, the mirrors. We have memory seats on these electric seats here. Here we have a few buttons that are amazing. You can turn on and off self-steering here. You can turn off the head-up display. You have auto hold. You can turn off scheduled charging, and you can open the trunk from here. The steering wheel is adjusted electrically. My God. On the steering wheel on the left you have your music and the control for the view of your cockpit. It has so many views. We're gonna go through this in a second. It's really amazing what you can see and what you can adjust. Top notch. On the right side you have your cruise control, your speed limiter, your distance and everything, and your voice commands. You still have an on-off button. Companies just don't get rid of that. It's not needed. Well, that's just how it is. You have your climate settings here, but not a lot. If you want to do more, you have to go into the climate window. You have a weird gear selector here where you have to press an extra button if you want to put it into reverse and then move it. This middle console can be moved electrically, and we have this weird thing in the middle that opens up where you can put other things, and I don't know why it has to be electric and not by hand, but that's just what they did. The middle console has no storage at all. You have two cup holders and that's it. But down here we have an extra phone holder if you want your phone out of the way. That's awesome. With an USB-C and USB-A, the same as in the rear. And we still have a glove box. We have a panoramic roof and it can be closed, and we even have a normal sunroof that you can open if you want fresh air from there. The mirror is also cute because it is a normal mirror, and like in Renault you can switch it to a camera, which sometimes is really good at night or in the morning when it's a bit dark. This works really well, and when you have a lot of stuff in the car you can still see the rear with just switching it to camera. The rear seats, I'm sitting very comfortable. I have this seat in my height, I always say it, 180 centimeters, 6 feet. I have this much legroom. Headroom, a tiny bit, not too much, but totally fine, even with the panoramic roof. I have a nice light here on the right and on the left, a little pocket. The door has a little pocket. I have my window opening. I have seat heating here in the rear that I can switch with 3 settings, not just on and off like most cars. Air vents and a USB-A and USB-C also here in the rear. I like this rear. And I have a little armrest. Is it comfortable? Oh yes, that's nice. So I could go many, many 100 kilometers here. It's also a nice seating position. It's not too weird like some cars, and this also is not too up. It's pretty straight. I like it here. And even though the seat, can't remember if it's in the lowest position. It's possible it's not, but I can fit down under the seat because maybe I adjusted the seat in a position that I'm not so low. So maybe it went lower than I need to. So still pro. I like it. I have to hurry, it's starting to rain. The trunk. Trunk is really big, not extremely high. The second floor is for nothing. There's no space. There's a subwoofer in there and other stuff. Maybe if you don't have the subwoofer and you can take out a few things, you have a bit of space. But they put the cables here on the side pockets and it's fine. There's no ski hatch. This thing is still attached to the front. That's fine. It's not a thing that you have to open and close each time. I love that. And the best thing, I love it from Volvo and Polestar, is close the trunk or close the trunk and lock the car. I love this. By the way, there is no frunk. It's all full here in the front. Before we get to the cockpit, there's a brightness button here on the side, And those things are also buttons. You can switch from day, night mode, and you can turn on your cameras. The view of the cockpit is really amazing. You have everything that you need to know: outside temperature, your range, your state of charge, how much power you're using, how much regen, your speed, of course, speed limit recognition or traffic signs, your clock if e-pedal is off and on, what gear you're in, what drive mode, and your odometer. Everything is in there, and this is the minimum view. With the left right buttons you go through the menus that you have here on the bottom. With the scroll wheel in the middle you can then change stuff, and with OK you can press, and here you have even more options. But let's go through all our screens. First we have our trip meter, drive computer. It can be since start, since charge, or since reset. We have 3 options here. When we go down, it can be just our average consumption or our economy history. Next we have our charging window. It will show us if we get the 130 kilowatt and how long it will take to charge to 10% and to 100. We have our all-wheel drive torque split, so front motor or rear motor is taking how much power, our tire pressure, and on the bottom we have our battery capacity, so it will show degradation. Next we have our map. It can be either a map here or just in what direction we're going. Then we have our audio, then we have traffic sign recognition, our cruise control, distance to the next car, and our self-driving warning. It will show everything if it notices a car. And then we have all of our settings, which are a lot. So you can switch so many things. Really done very well. I like it. And then on that extra button that I said before, we have even more things that you can change. And one of them is the change display view. And now it becomes like this. The middle is then still the same, so you can go through all of your stuff. But now it's just a different design. So for example, your trip meter now looks like this. Then let's go through all the buttons that we have here. Down here is the parking brake, and this is weird because sometimes when I put it into park, it just puts it in, and sometimes it doesn't. So I have not figured it out why. Sometimes it just does it automatically, applies it when I go into park, and sometimes not. On-off button, your temperature, defrost the front. We have wires in there to heat up the front windshield. For the rear as well, how strong the airflow is, and you can turn it off. Put it into auto, into recircling mode. Temperature for the passenger. We have hazards here. We have here next song, previous song, and we have an on-off button for the music and your volume. Up, down on this left side we have our home, navigation, music. I have Android Auto connected, can be Apple CarPlay, and your climate. And then up here, this is always your options or your settings, so you see them all the time. And we also down here we can see the temperature, seat heating, and you get there when you just press it, can get to the seat heating and the steering wheel heater. And we have 5 windows here in the home thing, and even though when they're empty it shows 5, and it can be different things. We have our energy usage, we have all maps, connections, Bluetooth and stuff, Nissan Connect services where you connect your app. I have connected my app, but it doesn't work properly. I cannot see the range and the state of charge. I can only see where the car is, and I can preheat it. I don't know why, and I tried it a few times. This is all of your Nissan Connect, all of your apps that you have, EV settings and stuff like this. Energy usage, charging station, charging schedule, climate, timer, stuff that you need, your phone, your map, and you can change this stuff. You just press long, and then you can edit all of your windows, add something. You have a different sizes for audio, driving range, map, and I don't know what, weather, user profile, clock connections, Alexa even. You can all put it in and change it however you want. This is of course your full map, your music, and or your Android Auto is the same thing. So it shows Android Auto the whole screen, or like this. If you want your settings, you go, like I said, up here, and then you have update and I don't know what, and can change a lot of things. The same if you want to do settings for the climate, you go in here. The battery heating that I said before, you need to be in, I think something with battery. Is it EV? Yes. And then down here it says battery heater, and you can turn it on, and then the battery will be heated. We have the day driving lights, low beams, high beams, and in the high beams you can see the segments already, because this has auto high beams where segments turn off. Very, very nice. We have our indicators, and then we have our front fog light as well. There is no cornering light, so when you steer extremely to the left, there is no extra light coming on, but that's not needed because the light is very, very bright, wide. And the steering also doesn't affect the light. In the rear, of course, we have our brake light, we have our reverse, where you also get a sound. And we have our rear fog lights, hazards in the rear. In the trunk we have two lights, one on each side, and it's extremely bright. Buttons up here are illuminated. In the door we have a little ambient light. No, not in the rear. I thought this would light up. And we have two lights on top. They're very bright, makes it very nicely. In front we have this ambient light. They can be turned on or off. There are no colors. And we have those two lights here on the top. Let's look at the light a bit. I have the low beams on. And like I said before, they are very, very wide. They can be far. They cut off pretty in a pretty straight line. The right side is a bit higher, so that's good. You turn the auto high beams on with a button on the side, and they fade in. That's nice. And they are really bright. And here we can already see they turn off with this car, a segment on the left. The right side stays on, and when the car is gone, now they're off because I'm driving under 60. Up here, speed limit is gone. When does it turn on? Now. Oh, the moon is beautiful. Wasn't it the last time? Which car was it where this was also happening? Must have been exactly a month ago then. So I'm behind this car, and the auto high beams are on, and you can see them that they're on left and right, but not where this car is. Does it great. And now we have our full high beams. And look at that, even those cars that are 500-600 meters away, it recognized the rear and turned off the auto high beams. Wow, there's a good distance. But look at it, it's really nice and bright. It's not that high, which is not necessary. It has a bit of a delay till it turns off, but that's okay. It should have a delay that the people see that you're turning off the high beams, because the light overall is very bright. I have seen other cars that have very high beams that is totally unnecessary. In this car, those high beams, the light is amazing. I said it. Wonderful how it turns it off. And then the next car turns all the segments off, and then everything on. Let's drive a bit. Here's the key. Hope you can see it's a very small key, very thin. I love it. I love keys that aren't too big, and we have unlock, lock, and trunk opening. When you hold it, it electrically opens up. You put it into gear on the when you put it in this direction here and when you do it again you go into B. But if you have the E pedal on that you can turn on and off here, E pedal means it uses regen plus the friction brakes to give you one pedal feeling, one pedal driving. And when you have the E pedal on, it doesn't matter if you are in D or B. It's not, I don't see any difference. And it doesn't remember if you are in D and B. If you put it once in reverse and go back, it will still be again in D, not in B. Important with E-pedal, even if you are in B, it doesn't bring you to a standstill. I thought the Leaf did that. And the regen is, I don't know, at under 20 kilometers an hour, it gets a bit weak, and then you need you have to use the brake pedal. And like I said, doesn't bring you to a standstill. Over that, it comes in very strong and nicely. When you are in cruise control and turn off cruise control, it doesn't brake very strong, it does it very smooth in there. And also when you use power and then you come off, and that's why it's not a sporty car. So if you drive a bit with more power, even though this has 300 horsepower, and then you go into a corner and then you get off the accelerator pedal, it slows down to very slowly because the regen level, how strong the regen is applied, is a bit slow. Parking brake comes off automatically. We have a rain sensor. I have it in the middle section. It wipes extremely fast. The rear wiper is tiny and just wipes this much. That's what the space that we have. Blinker indicator is not very loud and is a normal sound. I like it. We have a pedestrian warning sound till 30 kilometers an hour, and when you have it in reverse there's also a sound, but not as loud and annoying as in the Korean cars. Overall, the suspension is very, very soft, but not jumpy. Shout out to Chris Reefer. He tested this car and he said he didn't like the suspension at all. I don't see that. So, you know, on German roads, maybe I'm totally okay with how the suspension is. Yes, it's soft. It's not sporty at all. You cannot do high power cornering or stuff. It feels weird, but over normal driving in the city, over bumps, I like it a lot. The power within this car, 306 horsepower, is nice, but not overwhelming. But it's totally fine. We don't need more. We have 3 different drive modes, or 4. We have Eco, Standard, Sport and Snow. And in Eco the power is reduced, but not that much. It's still okay. I passed a car in Eco once, totally fine. Standard is totally okay. In Sport mode there is something that I hate, and I looked everywhere, I couldn't change that. There's a motor sound. So in Sport mode you get a sound like there's a normal motor in there, and it's a horrible sound, and I want this to be turned off. I mean, what is this? Where are we? Back to standard. Your cruise control you activate with this button, and then you have to set it. So it's not on right when you switch it. You have to set it, and then you can change the speed, of course, and your distance. We have 3 levels of distance, and if you want self-steering, there's a button down here and it remembers it from the last time. Overall, on the country road it's okay. On the highway, German highway, it can be a bit annoying because it slows down extremely early, even if your distance is on a low setting. It also, the steering wheel notices you when you touch it, not by steering, and you have to press a bit harder. Our torque split, that shows what motor is doing something. And I have noticed that in Eco mode it does not mean that it's only using the front or rear motor. It's using the front motor primarily, but if you use a tiny bit more power, then it still uses the rear motor as well. It's really quiet in this car. I think for what it is, It's more quiet than other cars. I love it at 130. And like I said, with the comfortableness, this is a really nice daily driver, and like I said, comfortable and quiet. I can see using this on a long distance drive a lot. Very comfortable. I love it. The power is good. This is nice. And then regen takes a bit, and then it comes in, and then it's very strong, and then it's nothing at around this speed, just because it's uphill. Cornering, like I said, it's not a sporty car, it's more on comfort. That's fine. It's just the character of the car. Overall, I like this car. I think it looks okay. I like the driving. I like the features that I have. The climate is a bit annoying. It's missing a few things that I would like to have. Biggest thing is a charge limit. I have heard that in the app you can switch it to 80%, to charge to 80%. But in here, there is no thing to change the charge limit. It will always charge to 100%. And my app, like I said, doesn't work properly for whatever reason. Also, the connection to get the app to work with your phone is a bit weird. It just doesn't appear. You have to go in some weird settings. It's a bit complicated. I don't think there's a lot of room for storage since this middle console is empty. There could be more space. I like the space overall in the car, even in the trunk. In the rear seats is amazing. Memory seats. Overall, I think this is a big improvement to the Leaf, and even better than most other cars. I like it. Sound system, by the way, is also okay. It could need a bit of bass, but I didn't play around too much with it. But for me, important, the bass is not, oh my god, is this strong bass, I cannot hear anything else. I hate that. A lot of cars have this problem, and in here I can understand everything. It's driving on a highway. When it's quiet, you can understand voices way better, and the music doesn't have to be that loud. I have all the information. This cockpit is amazing with everything that you can see. Overall, I'm very impressed. Great car. It gets the approval from Chris. But climate is also something I would like to have a bit more buttons down here to do some changes, because many times I have to go in here and where the airflow goes. That's just how it is. I love that there's a driver zone button, so only, as in Koreans, driver only, so only the driver is being heated or cooled. There's a fan only button. That means it doesn't heat and it doesn't cool. That's awesome. And the seats have cooling and heating. The steering wheel heater has an on button, off, and automatic, so when it's cold it will do it automatic. But that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day and take care. Bye.